What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday night. Time to talk about some stuff. But before we do talk about some stuff, I hope everybody's having a great evening. And I want to remind you to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Click the bell so you're notified whenever I put out a new video. New videos go out Tuesday evening when I do these lives, and then every Friday afternoon. And then if you, this is the most important part, the most important thing is share the video. If there's something in here that I talk about, please share it with somebody so that they get the information and we can help as many people as possible understand and implement fitness and exercise and improve their quality of life. Okay. So let's talk today about steps for recovering from injury. This is one of the biggest things that I deal with as a coach. One of the biggest things that probably one of the most common things that I talk about. What's going on, Susan? With people individually, as a group, whatever, people get hurt. Whether it's I'm just getting started and I did something too much and I get hurt. What do I do? Or I've been working out forever and I did something and I got hurt. What do I do? Maybe you just had an operation, a major injury or something like that, and you're trying to figure out how do I get back into a fitness routine. There's so many different scenarios here, so many different kinds of injuries. We've talked about scaling and modifications before, but that's all part of this stuff as well. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about 6 things that you can do, or if there's somebody that you know that you can talk to them and say, look, here's 6 things that you can look at, maybe doing all 6 or one of these things, something that you can do to help recover from an injury. Okay. There's a few aspects of recovering from an injury. And the first thing we're going to talk about, number 1, is this part, the aspect is of mindset. Okay. You need to get your mind right about the process of recovering. Okay. The process of recovering. It takes time. It is not something that happens overnight, and it is not something that you can shortcut. Okay. What's going on, Tanya? It is not something that you can shortcut. Okay. The process requires consistent effort. You're not going to be able to do the things you used to be able to do. You're not going to be able to just go right back into normal. Okay. There's some things that you need to focus on, which we'll get into them because those are some of the next steps. There's some aspects that you need to focus on specifically in progression as you build yourself back up. Okay. So if you try to rush it, if you try to cheat it, if you try to do things before you are ready, then it's going to set you back and you're going to re-injure. You're going to do something, and maybe you injure something else completely altogether because you were trying to do something, you overcompensated and something else broke. Okay. Our body is a system of chains. Okay. System of chains, systems that are interconnected. If one system is broken, it will add pressure to another system to help support it. So if you're trying to do too much while one piece is broken, you're going to break another piece as well, and you're just going to get more broken. Okay. So that's not what we're looking for. Be patient. Okay. Be patient, patient. Get comfortable with boring. Okay. That's another aspect of this, of the be patient. Get comfortable with boring. Recovery is not exciting. It's a lot of little things. It's a lot of things that you have to do that don't feel like they're doing anything because you're not getting what you're used to in a workout. You're not getting that sweat, your heart rate, the weight, whatever it is that you're used to doing, you're not able to do it. So it feels like you're missing out. Okay. It's a lot like the feeling that most people get when we talk about warm-ups and cool downs. Okay. Warm-ups and cool downs aren't sexy. Okay. But they're important. You need to do them. And it's the exact same thing with recovery. Okay. Be okay with the amount of time that it's going to take. Okay. Here's a rule of thumb I want you to follow. If you ever have to bump into this, this is not 100% every single time, and some injuries vary, but as a general rule of thumb, whatever time you were out from an injury, double that time for your recovery. Okay. If you have an injury and your doctor says, hey, we got to do a quick scope and you're going to be out for 6 weeks, then it should be 12 weeks before you try to start doing anything that you did before that injury. Okay. Double the amount of time that you were out for an injury. Okay. Just something to keep in mind. If you have surgery, if something happens, boom, and you're out, it takes you 4 weeks to recover, then it should be about 8 weeks before you really start going hard and trying to do what you were doing before the injury. Okay. It's things to keep in mind. Okay. Rule of thumb 2 to 1. All right. 2 to 1. 2 times the length you were out for your injury is a good recommendation. All right. That's one. Get your mind right. Get used to the time. It's going to take time. Okay. Uh, Along with understanding that it's going to take time. Okay. I mentioned it real quick. Don't focus on where you used to be because that's going to get you even more frustrated. Okay. You have to switch your focus from I used to be able to do this, okay, to where am I now? And I'm going to focus on my progression and my recovery. Okay. Don't look backwards. Look at right where you are right now. Where am I? Where do I want to go? Okay. This isn't about, I see it all the time. Whether it's someone who like me, right? I'm 50 and I look at where I was, when I was 24 years old and things I could do. When I was out of shape, I would look at that and go like, man, I used to be able to do so much, and it would get me down, it would get me depressed. When you're used to being active and you get injured and you can't do something, then if you focus on what you can't do all the time, it's going to make you less motivated. It's going to make you less wanting, willing, and able to do the little things, to be okay with boring, and to be patient. Okay, all of the things that we want to have in our mental mind. My brain just froze for a second. All the things we want to have in our mind as a mindset, okay, of progress and getting through this recovery time is really hinges on not looking back. We have to look forward. Okay, our why for the recovery process is getting recovered and being able to do things better than we could before. Okay, better than we could before. Keep that in mind. Okay. um, so taking your time, understanding that you're not going to focus on where you were, you're focusing on what is right in front of you, because that takes effort. If you are not 100% focused on what is right in front of you and what you need to do for your recovery, you're not going to recover as fast because you're going to get sidetracked. You're not going to do the little exercises you need to do. You're not going to focus on your technique like you need to. You're not going to be consistent with whatever other things you need to do. Okay. So focus on what's right in front of you and where you're trying to go, not where you were, where you're trying to go. Okay. So step number one, it's going to take some time. Step number two, don't look behind you. Look where you're trying to go. Accept where you are right now. You have to accept you are not where you used to be. This is where I am right this second. And what do I need to do to move forward? That's all we've got. That's all we've got. What do we need to do to move forward? That's where we are. Okay. Number three, set some goals. Set some goals based on where you are now and where you want to be, but have a plan. Okay, that's really what this is all about, is having a plan. If you have an injury that you had surgery, probably you went to some kind of physical therapy, you had rehab. They have a plan. Here's what you're going to do. You're going this many times. You're going to do these exercises, and then you finish that plan, and then you're done with physical therapy. You're now cleared. Okay, but what does that mean? Okay, what do you do from there? Because just because you're out of physical therapy, it's not likely that you're able to just jump right back into doing all the things you were able to do. You need to build yourself back up from a strength, or endurance or metabolic conditioning perspective. Okay, so you need to have a plan. Again, if you're starting that, if you're going to go off the 2 to 1 rule of thumb, then if I was out for a month, I had 8 weeks. What do I need to do? What are the benchmarks or things that I can say that I want to do over the next 8 weeks to get back to or better than where I was before my injury? Right. So that gives you a timeline where you can start putting check marks in. I want to get to this point in the next week. Every week, maybe it's once a week. Every week, I want to have a checkpoint and be able to do X, Y, or Z. And you can kind of test and see if I was able to do that this week. I'm going to go for the next goal for the second week, and um, maybe it was too much the first week, and I got to take it a little easy the second week. Okay, now I know I got to scale it back a little bit. Maybe my recovery is going to be 9 weeks instead of 8 weeks. Maybe at week 6, I feel really good and things like just came back really fast for some reason, and I can finish in 7 weeks. So you have all of those things that you want to kind of to play with. But if you have a time frame, if you know where you want to go, where do you want to be at the end of that time frame, and then you can give yourself steps along the way, then you have something that you can focus on that's a positive, not just work, right? So we're not looking back. We're looking at the things we have to do right in front of us. And we can also look at the things that we're being successful at on our journey of recovery. Okay. So that gives you something positive to look at. Celebrate. That's the word I'm looking for. Celebrate every success. Okay. What are you saying, Joy? Joy's got whiplash. How much I can do, should do, especially with my upper body. Joy, take it easy. A whiplash is no joke. I don't know how long you've had it or how long you've been dealing with it. I'm assuming that you went to a doctor, physical therapist, chiropractor, something. I had whiplash years ago, and I went to a chiropractor on a consistent basis for probably a year afterwards. But I was able to get back in and do stuff probably within 3 to 4 months. So everyone's a little different, depends on how severe it is and what you're dealing with. Let's see, ortho. Terry, nothing heavier than 20 pounds for 2 years. Yeah. Every chiropractor every week. Okay, good. I'm curious, Joy. This is an interesting conversation. What sucks about going to a chiropractor? Or is it just having to go in general because you had the injury is what sucks? I personally love chiropractic. I love going to get cracked. It's fantastic. Okay. So get your mind right. It's going to take time. Don't focus on where you used to be. Focus on where you're going. Set some goals and give yourself a time frame with benchmarks along the way so you can celebrate every success. Okay. Those are 3. We're halfway there, guys. Halfway there. Number 4, focus on technique. Okay. You hear me say this a lot. It has to do with everything that we do about fitness because technique always comes first. It is, if it's possible, because it's already in front of the line when it comes to things we talk about for what we're doing for fitness, it's more important for a couple of different reasons. When we talk about technique, normally we're talking about making sure that you're moving safely, making sure that you're being as mechanically efficient as possible, making sure that you're not building in improper movement patterns so you hurt yourself. Okay. When you're recovering from an injury, here's the thing. Most injuries, okay, most injuries in people happen because something about their technique was off and their body was compensating and doing something that it wasn't built to do. So it broke down, and over time, they got hurt. Okay. Most acute injuries, which are the injuries that happen at a time. I tore my Achilles. I blew out my knee, like whatever. I threw out my back. I herniated a disc. Okay. Most of those things that's not the actual injury. The actual injury was weeks, months, years of improper movement that led to that final breakdown of the system. Okay. So when we talk about technique, and I want you to focus on your technique. I want you to go slow. I want you to learn how to do the movement properly so that you don't re-injure yourself again. Okay. If you have a knee injury, not only are you going to rehab that knee injury, but I want you to talk to your physical therapist. I want you to learn, do I have any issues with my hips? Do I have issues with my ankles? Is there something else that is off that I need to fix from a technique perspective, how my body is working? Okay. So that my knee doesn't have that breakdown again. Because if you get your knee replaced, but then you don't fix anything about how you're moving your body or how you're walking, or if you have hip problems or anything else like that, then your knee's just going to break down again. Okay. So When you have an injury, an acute injury, particularly, you want to make sure that you identify the cause of that injury. The cause of you throwing out your back is not you have a weak back. The cause of you throwing out your back is you don't know how to use your hips properly. You have poor core activation. Okay. You don't know how to activate your glutes and hamstrings. Okay. So there are other things. Maybe you have maybe your leg strength is off in your knee position is whacking and messing up your hips, which is going into your lower back. There's a lot of systems. Again, the body is a system of chains. Okay. All those chains and links are connected. And if one of them is off, it's going to throw everything off. Okay. So technique when you're recovering is super, super important. Okay. Because that is the foundation for where you go from there. If you don't fix your technique and you just focus on getting back to doing whatever you were doing, I guarantee you will be back on the operating table. You will be back in the doctor's office because you didn't fix the problem. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Okay. Technique is super important to help prevent the issues in the first place, but especially if you've been injured, you really need to focus on it so you don't get re-injured again. Okay. I have here in my notes, if you don't learn from the injury, you will repeat it. Okay, something to think about. All right, that's four things. Okay. The fifth thing is also something that you've heard me say a lot. Okay. And it's not going to be any surprise. The next two things, guys, are not going to be any surprises. They should not be any surprises. Eat more protein. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean if you're already getting adequate protein, then you're probably fine. You don't need to eat more, but make sure that you're getting adequate protein. Okay. For most people, we talk about protein intake. My recommendation is the minimum protein you should be getting is 1 gram of protein per lean pound of pound of lean body mass. I cannot talk today. Okay. Yes. Team protein, hashtag team protein. T-shirts are on sale, by the way. Don't forget. Okay. I'll put a link in the show notes for this if I haven't already. Okay. 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. Okay. For recovery, for people that are active. Okay. And that now recovery, that means injury recovery, workout recovery, whatever it may be. Okay. I recommend probably 1.5. Like if it were me and I could be comfortable saying that I know everyone could eat this easily. I know it's not that easy. I would say 1.5 pounds of gram of proteins, 2 pound of lean body mass would be a really good number. For recovery, bump it up a little bit, do what you need to do. I like to eat a lot more. I'm currently, if you guys know what I'm going through right now, I'm working with Rob Sykes, Keto Savage, on a different program for myself. So I'm doing lower protein than I normally do, but I'm still at about 1 gram per pound of lean mass. I'm actually a little under that. But that's a whole different story. Normally, when I'm doing my normal program, I'm at about 1.75 to 2 sometimes. Okay. So yes, t-shirts. So eat more protein. We need the protein to help repair muscle, to help repair tissue, to help our body recover, to get back to where we were. So if we're not getting enough protein, if your focus, here's a twist on that idea. If your focus has been fat loss and you get hurt while you're working out, or you get hurt doing whatever, something happens, okay, and you're like, I gotta focus on fat loss. I'm focusing on fat loss. You have to decide. You may have to decide where you want to focus your energy, on your fat loss, on your recovery. The idea of eating more, because I'm telling you to eat more protein, could mess you up a little bit. As I'm trying to eat more, but I'm trying to lose fat. I don't know what to do. This is all not making sense. Okay. Your recovery is probably more important for that short period of time than trying to think about what you're eating to lose fat. Okay. And I'm not saying just go off plan. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying getting more protein is not going to throw you off. It's going to help you recover. So that mindset of eating more food in that instance is okay. You can be okay with it. Okay. You're not saying to eat more fat, not saying to eat more carbs, just eat more protein. Okay. Hope that makes sense. I kind of got a little twisted up there. All right. Number 6. Okay, this is the last one. Y'all ready? You know what? I'm going to see if anyone has a guess. All right, I'm going to give you guys a couple 30 seconds. I'm looking at some of these comments and see if anybody has a guess what number 6 is going to be. Let's see. Couldn't move my head. Susan. Joy. You win something. I'm going to give you something, Joy. I don't know what. I got to get you something. Teresa said it too. Oh my goodness. Joy was first though. Sorry, Teresa. Yes, sleep. Absolutely. Sleep, 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 sleep. Okay. If you guys have not heard me talk about sleep, sleep is the most anabolic time of your day. It is the longest period of time where your body is saying, all I want to do is grow and repair. Okay. That is all it is. I want to grow and repair. That's all I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on utilizing all the protein that I've been given to build muscle, repair tissue, and get better so that I can go out and do stuff the next day. Okay. So the more sleep you can get during recovery, the better off you're going to be. So if you know, particularly if you're having a surgery or injury or something like that, these are things that you want to think about from a mindset perspective, from a routine perspective. Set yourself up so that after your operation or after your surgery, whatever it may be, or you get injured, your doctor's like, here's what you got to do. You're in a boot, just rest it, whatever that may be, whatever your situation is. Set up your routine so that you're making an adjustment to focus on your recovery. And I guarantee you your recovery will go better. If you try to do everything the same way, then it's probably going to take a little bit longer and it's not going to be successful. Okay. Try to get more sleep. Try to eat more protein. Okay. In particular, from a routine perspective. Okay. From a mindset perspective. Okay. It's going to take some time. Don't look back and set some goals. And then from an actual application perspective of you doing the things to help your body recover with your rehab or exercises or whatever it is, focus on the technique. Make sure that you're not reinforcing the bad movement so that you don't re-injure yourself. Okay. Now here's the thing. Okay. If you guys are not in the Facebook group, Apex Health and Fitness Keto Carnivore, go get in the Facebook group. I posted just before this number 7. Okay. There's actually a really cool study that I was looking at that I want you guys to go into the group and take a look at. If you have not thought about that, if you have not, I'm not even going to say it on the video. If you have not thought about number 7, it's something that I highly recommend you take a look at. Reducing inflammation in general in your body is always a good thing. Okay. Doing it post-injury is even better. So anything that you can do to reduce inflammation is going to help your healing process. From a nutrition perspective, stop eating keto treats, stop eating anything that has an ingredient label on it, only eat whole foods, eat more meat, okay? Get more sleep, decrease inflammation. Do number 7. You'll see it in the Facebook group, okay? All that stuff is going to help a lot with your recovery, okay? What I'd love to see, and I'm going to try this out. I haven't done this yet on any of these talks. I would love to see what you guys have struggled with when it comes to recovery. If there's any questions or things that you've been through that you realized, hey, this didn't work, that worked. Terry, it's okay. You can put that in there. I just saw your thing pop up and then come back down again. So yeah, I'd love to see whether you comment on here or you go in the Facebook group and put some comments up. I'd love to see what you guys have had to do or learned about recovery, and we can share some stories. I'd love to see what people have done and how you guys have gone through the process yourself. Okay, your stories matter, and I want to share your stories as much as possible. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Those are 6 things you can do to help recover from injury, from a mindset perspective, from a practical application of actual movement, and then from a routine and lifestyle perspective as well. Okay, take it easy. I'll see you next week.